Welcome y'all to Restored Geeks. My name is Tristan.
I'm Chandler.
And here our ethos is to help people see God's fingerprint within the media, arts, and geek culture. We are now going to get into part 2 of our Sopranos deep analysis from a biblical perspective. Where last part we left off at episode 7 of season 2. So we are now going to just pick up where we left off at. But to give a warning, as we said in our last part, the show is very hard R-rated. It's TVMA. It does have sex and nudity, scenes of disturbing violence, profanity, and all that in it. So if you are sensitive to that, then we do not recommend watching it.
Yeah, but luckily you won't have to see it because we got copyright struck, so we're not going to be showing
Not
it.
on this video because, on our previous one, I tried to use some clips of the show as we were talking, and HBO decided that they were going to block our video.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the thing that happens when you go to review TV shows. Anyway, so yeah, just a content warning on that. If you struggle with any of that, then don't watch it. However, if you're able to handle it, then we recommend going and watching it because it is one of the greatest TV shows out there.
Yes.
However, we're also going to get into spoilers, heavy spoilers. So, yeah, just if you don't want it to get spoiled, then don't watch this. Go watch the show, then come back and listen to this. So. Let's now get into our analysis from a biblical perspective. So, we left off, as I said, at episode 7 of season 2. We're now getting to episode 8, where Meadow wants to go to Berkeley College, but Tony and Carmela wants her to go to Georgetown College. And not our Georgetown College, here in Kentucky.
No, I know what Georgetown is.
Yeah, over in New Jersey. But they don't want Meadow to go to Berkeley College because that's over in like New York, I think, and they don't want her to go away from home. And but Carmela ends up threatening Joanne O'Connell, an alumna of Georgetown College, to write a letter to the college to let Meadow in. And this whole scene, what?
Berkeley's in California, by the way.
Oh, never mind. Berkeley's in California. Dadgone.
Because they have no issue with her driving across the bridge because she does that when she
does that, yes. I was kind of thinking of that. So, yeah, that's all the way on the other side of the United States, Berkeley College is.
Yeah.
But Carmela knows somebody that knows a alumni of
here we go.
Berkeley College, yeah. And she shows up to this person's office.
So I want to prefix this just a little bit. As you've heard from up to now, she's mostly been a moral character.
Yeah, Carmela.
Yeah, but here you're about to see that change.
Yeah, this is where she actually starts to use the fact that her husband is a monster to her own advantage.
That person who knows the alumni is a lawyer, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she shows up to this person's office, and she doesn't directly threaten her. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, she talks to the woman.
She first has the sister of this person go talk to him.
Yeah.
She gets denied, so Carmela decides to go there herself.
Yes.
And she doesn't directly threaten her, but it is very obvious what she's saying.
Yeah, she gives her like a pie, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And then Carmela looks her dead in the eye and says, "No, you don't get it. I want you to write this letter."
Yep.
And they kind of like stare at each other, and then she kind of like smiles, and she's like, "Look, thank you for your time," and like walks out. And yeah, but
then she gets that letter.
Yeah, she does. Because one of the scenes before that is that the sister tells her like, there's a woman who wants you to write a letter. Her name's Carmela Soprano, and then she's like, what, the gangster's wife?
Yep.
So she knows who she's.
Everyone knows who Tony is.
Yes. Paulie and Silvio pressure Richie to build Benzie, who he beats up.
Yeah. He beats up a guy named Benzie and paralyzes him. So they pressure him into putting a new ramp at Benzie's house.
Yeah.
But when the guys go to do it, the wife of Benzie immediately recognizes what they're doing.
Yes, exactly.
And refuses to let them put it in.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is where we get introduced to Vito, who owns a construction company. Vito.
You right.
Yeah. Vito, he owns a construction company, and he's correct me if I'm wrong, a capo of the...
He is one of the captains, yes.
Yeah. of the family, and they come and they end up reconstructing Benzie's house.
Yep.
For it. Christopher acts out in a restaurant, embarrassing Adriana. She gets up. She gets so embarrassed that she gets up and goes back to her mother. But he eventually goes and visits her, and he actually proposes to her to get married to her. So because Chris, realizes that she's very loyal to him, and she's always been by his side.
Yeah.
But as we're going to see, Chris is still going to struggle with infidelity and all that throughout this show. Then, toward the end of the episode, Chris's really stupid goons decide that they're going to try to move up the ladder of the DeMio family by killing him. Matt and Sean, they get nowhere, and Furio, Furio and another guy shows up to their apartment, and, they take money from them.
Yeah.
And they get mad, and then they
Furio had no emotion either.
No.
Furio didn't say a word.
Yeah. And Matt and Sean come to the conclusion they're getting nowhere in the DeMio family, so they decide the really smart decision of shooting Christopher, which Christopher shoots back and kills Sean.
Yeah.
But Christopher gets shot so many times that he gets left unconscious and gets put into the hospital, while Matt runs to Richie. And when Richie finds out what they did, Richie beats him away.
So this happens after the funny part I was thinking of.
What's the funny part?
Well, there's a part where Chris's goons are trying to move up, and one of them corners Tony in the bathroom.
Oh,
he starts talking to him. He's like, it's so nice to meet the boss of the family. And Tony just slams him against the wall. He said, you ever heard of wiretaps, idiot? He's out.
Yeah, I didn't write that scene down, but one of them do that. These two they're two guys that are trying their best to move up the ladder.
They mean well towards Tony. They don't mean well.
Well, they
mean well towards Tony, but they're stupid.
They're incredibly stupid, yes. And they make the incredibly stupid decision to try and kill Christopher.
We're about to get into a really biblical talk.
Yeah.
Because of Paulie going at it with Chris.
Yeah. I think that's the very next episode.
Yep.
So we did get to episode 9 of season 2, where Christopher clinically dies for about a minute. But he gets brought back to life through, the resuscitation and all that.
Clinically brought back to life.
Yeah.
When you clinically die, you don't actually die.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Because your brain stays active for about...
Because your
brain can stay active for about 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So when they get you back that fast,
And for anybody that has not watched part 1 yet, go back and watch part 1.
You're not going to have any idea what we're talking about.
But we are not medical professionals, both
we are
therapists or physical.
We aren't, but that context I just gave will be important here in a minute.
Yes. We just want to let that, because we're going to be talking about Dr. Melfi's therapy and psychological stuff. We're not experts in that. So if you have a problem mentally, go seek a professional. But yeah, so he clinically dies, but he gets brought back. He has a discussion with Tony where he tells him that he believes he went to hell.
Yeah, and he says that he saw the old bosses at what was a card game.
Yes.
But every day, they could never win a hand, and then at the end of every day, they got killed the same way they got killed in real life.
Yeah. Tony doesn't believe him.
Tony just shrugs it off.
Yeah, Tony shrugs it off, but later on he tells Dr. Melfi about hell that he says, and I quote, "Soldiers don't go to hell. Everybody involved knows the stakes, and you got to do certain things. It's business. We're soldiers."
Maybe in war, not in your stupid crap.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's this idea that because he is just a soldier because he was talking about how he doesn't believe that he's going to hell or Chris is going to hell or anything like that. He believes that just because they're being commanded to do stuff, that they're all right with it. When they chose that life, they have the ability to...
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it'll be hard and they'd have to run from other mobsters, they have the ability to stop it.
Yeah, no, this is a running theme that we haven't gotten into much yet because he doesn't really bring this up to Melfi till season 3, I think.
Yeah.
But the theme of Tony thinking that he was forced into this because his family was doing this, and he thinks there's no way out.
Yes.
isn't the case. He could have chose not to do this.
Yeah, he believes he's stuck in it.
Yeah.
He doesn't see any other way. But he does secretly wish that he lived another life.
We'll get into that later, and we'll also get into the fact that he doesn't want his kids to do it, but it's a cycle.
Yes.
Because his dad didn't want him to do it.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Later, Paulie kind of gets freaked out by what Christopher says. He starts kind of having like nightmares.
Yeah.
And he then there's a scene where he goes and visits Christopher in the hospital at like night.
You're missing one.
What?
Because you're about to talk about where he talks about purgatory, right?
Yes.
So you missed the part where he goes to a psychic.
Oh, yeah, he does go to a psychic.
He does end up going to a psychic, which the psychic, I don't believe that you can contact spirits. You can contact demons, which is what happened here.
Yes.
Because the demons that the psychic contacted were using names that Paulie knew and was making fun of Paulie, which ended up making Paulie so mad he threw a chair and left.
Yep, exactly.
But then he goes and meets Christopher at night.
He goes and meets Christopher, and he goes on a rant about purgatory, about where he comes up with this wild math.
Yeah. You take your regular sins and multiply them by 25.
Yes.
And then you take your extra sins and multiply them by 50.
Yes.
And then you add it all together, and that's how many years in purgatory. Yes. And he says something like he's got, 5,000 years in purgatory, and that'll go like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, he said, I can do that with my hands tied.
Yeah.
Something like that. And here's the thing, I don't know if all the Catholic Church preaches this, but they do have this like weird system of different sins and how different sins are going, like some of them are you spend a certain year in purgatory, certain time in purgatory and all that. The thing is that the Bible doesn't say anything about that.
No.
Nothing about the Bible puts all sin in one category.
I think it comes from the thought process of what is Sheol.
Well, that, and also it comes from the process that different sins have different impacts and consequences.
God straight up says that's not the case.
What I mean, like telling a white lie doesn't have the same impact as raping somebody.
Yeah, but
all sin is lumped in that you deserve hell.
Yeah,
whether you tell a white lie or you rape somebody.
Yep.
And
thank Jesus, everybody.
Do it.
Thank Jesus, everybody.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the Bible says nothing about purgatory, and they talk about Sheol, but there's a lot of, most scholars throughout history believe that it was like a place.
It was just a holding place, is what it seems like.
For the older, like before Christ.
Yeah, because Abraham was there.
Yeah.
Why would he be in purgatory? No, Sheol was the original place because you couldn't get to God before Jesus.
Yes. But Jesus speaks nothing about a place called purgatory.
None. He
does speak a lot about hell, though.
See, because in Sheol there was two different versions of it. There was the good version and the bad version.
Yeah, Paulie is completely on a works-based kind of faith thing, when that's not what Christianity is. Faith-based. Doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want, but we're saved by grace through faith alone. That Christ died for our sins on the cross, rose 3 days later, proving that he is God and that we can trust him. That's the gospel. And people who don't believe that, they're not going to like a purgatory place. The Bible says they're going to hell. So Paulie,
so Paulie's just completely out of pocket here.
Yes, and Paulie, unless Paulie repents of his sins, he'll be going to hell too.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a running theme in the show of bad theology.
Very bad theology, yes. Because directly after that, we then have a scene where Paulie goes to a Catholic priest, and he scolds him. He tells him, he thinks that the money that he gives to the Catholic Church is going to save him from hell.
I thought we learned from Martin Luther.
Yeah, exactly.
No, the Catholic Church actually believes this. They think confessions and atonement can be done by a priest.
Yeah.
They cannot be done by a priest.
Yeah.
They can only be done by God and Jesus.
Yeah, it's a works-based. It's works-based.
Yeah.
It's not actual, your heart actually loves God. It's like it's these religious systems that you think are just going to get you
a thumbs up when you get up there.
Yeah, when you get up. And it's like in the Old Testament when God straight up tells the Israelites that he absolutely despises their sacrifices when they do it just because they think it's is going to get them a ticket out of hell.
Yeah,
like,
and that's one of the reasons why Jesus talks about hell very directly, like all sins being the same, is because if he said something like, well, you can here's how you can calculate your years in purgatory, but then you'll get salvation.
Yeah.
You'll have people like Polly.
Yeah, exactly.
Who think they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because eventually they'll be in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So he thinks as long as he's giving money to this Catholic church, he can kill the people that he's killed.
Yeah.
He can ruin the people's lives that he's ruining and be okay when that is absolutely not the case.
No, it is not.
We then have a very interesting scene where Carmilla actually goes to a prayer room in the hospital, and she gives us like very interesting prayer for the whole family while Chris is like in the hospital unconscious.
Yeah.
Like Carmilla is somebody who all throughout the show she wants to follow God. But due to her husband's lifestyle and due to her not fully embracing God, honestly, throughout it, she kind of stays in between. Like she kind of stays like being complicit in what Tony is doing.
She wants to be more for God.
Yeah.
But she also doesn't want to give up the money that Satan's given her.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I mean, yeah, that's what it is.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
Because if she was getting her money from a good source, I wouldn't say that. But she's getting it from Tony.
She's getting it from Tony, who Tony's ruining, killing people, ruining people's lives. So, Tony and Salvatore find Matt and kill him.
So is that the messed up scene where they go in and he's sitting there and he asks for a drink and he walks up and gives him a soda, diet soda. And he drinks it. And he's like, because it has to be because Sal dies right at the beginning of season 3.
Yeah, because Salvatore's with him. Yes,
yeah,
scene.
Because they hand him the drink, and then he takes the drink, and Tony goes, "Is that a nice drink?
Yeah,
you like that drink?" He's like, "It's all right." He said, "Good, because it's the last drink you'll ever have," and then shoots him.
Yes, yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
Tony is a manipulator, and I honestly think from that type of thing he does there, he enjoys the suffering that it brings on them.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wanted him to have false hope that he was going to leave there alive.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, yeah, he enjoys the power that he has.
Yeah.
So, then later on, toward the end of that episode, Carmela is like having a conversation with what's her name, Rosie.
The other wives.
Yeah, the other wives, and they start talking about like one of the capo's mistresses having a child, and Carmela knows Tony's got a mistress, and she pressures Tony to get a vasectomy because a quote bastard child would ruin the family.
Yeah,
so. He's reluctant to do it, but then he eventually agrees to.
She thinks he does. At this point, he doesn't, actually, because he cut her off.
Yeah, he broke up with Irina, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. At this point, he doesn't, but he will soon.
Yes, yeah. Then get into episode 10 of season 2, where Skip tries to get Salvatore to record Tony admitting to the murder of Matt. Tony kind of like dances around it as Salvatore tries to do it. Tries to get him to, because they go into the basement where Salvatore's got the wire on him and he's trying to get him to confess. Tony and Richie and Polly use Davy's store to buy out expensive merchandise until he goes completely bankrupt.
This scene is sad.
Yeah, it is.
Because he's watching his whole livelihood go down before him. He starts crying, and Tony literally gets up, tells him to man up and go back in his office.
Yes. And that they completely bankrupt him, and he actually gets suicidal.
Yeah.
About it. It's a really sad scene of how it shows you how Tony is ruining people.
Because he comes out mad. Because here's how the scene plays out. He comes out mad because he's like, I can't keep making these false reports, and they keep saying it.
Yeah.
And then finally he yells at Tony and asks what the end goal is, and Tony says bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And that's when he just starts crying.
Yep, exactly. Richie, egged on by Janice, of all people, Tony's sister, goes to Junior about with proposing that they eliminate Tony. Junior, especially after what happened in season 1,
Junior said, I don't want nothing to do with that.
Refuses it. Yep. And then Tony tells Dr. Melfi that he does not care about going to jail as long as his kids are grown. So he doesn't care about going to jail when his kids grow up and they have
and that
they're
is
showing off of his money.
And that is shown if you pay attention to the show from the very beginning with the ducks.
Yeah, and it's kind of this like thing that he justifies what he's doing because he's doing it for his kids. Like he thinks the end is just
show.
Yeah,
like another show
Yeah.
I know of.
that we can do a
But we will do a full analysis on that later. We already said that in the first.
Yes. But yeah, it's like the ends justify the means, which that's not how it goes because, like, despite the fact that the end is to set his kids up, the means are evil.
If I say the end goal is to make everyone more God-loving,
Yeah.
but to do that, I'm going to put every atheist in a camp and slaughter them.
Yes.
The ends do not justify the means.
Because
That is evil.
That goes completely against what God would want us to do. Yeah. And, well, I mean, it's like, with Infinity War and all that. Thanos.
He wants to save the universe.
Yes.
In Infinity War. But to do so, he's going to wipe out 50% of all living creatures.
Yes, exactly. It's like the ends do not justify the means there.
No, they don't.
We then get to episode 11 of season 2, where Tony is advised by his lawyer to stay out an investigation on him, in which he goes to another capo's kind of, I forgot the capo's name, but he goes to his like work office and kind of like hides out there throughout that episode to like stake out the investigation that's going on with him.
Yeah.
We then get glimpses that Dr. Melfi is actually drinking in between sessions.
Yeah,
to get through the session.
As Tony knocks on her door. Oh no, she lets someone else out and then looks at her page. Who's next?
Yeah.
And it just shows a picture of her page. You see Tony Soprano.
Mm-hmm.
And she just immediately pulls what looks to be Everclear out of her desk.
Yeah, which is strong alcohol.
Yeah.
By the way. But she tells her therapist that she just cannot get through the, quote, repulsive stuff that he says.
Yep.
So she knows that he's the evil stuff that he does, and she can't stand it.
She is a tragic character in this story because she can't stand what he's saying, but she has this savior complex. She thinks she can change him.
Yeah. And spoiler warning, she gets nowhere with it.
She cannot.
Yeah, exactly. She should have just... What she should have done is got rid of him and called the police on him.
His final session, not talking about when she yells at him.
Yeah.
The one before that. His final session is no different than his first.
Exactly. Yes. Junior and Richie start to sell cocaine in order for Junior to pay for legal and medical expenses. Tony scolds Richie and tells him to stop, but he refuses. Tony then has another panic attack after that because of the stress of all that goes on. And then toward the end of that episode, he then finally returns back to that meat shop that his
office
is in. Yeah. They get to episode 12 of season 2, where Salvatore trails Christopher as he hijacks as Christopher and another person hijacks a shipment of Pokemon cards.
Oh yeah.
And but Salvatore
no, Pokemon cards, Pokemon cards.
So that's what
they said.
Pokemon.
We got these Pokemon cards. They sell for pretty good.
Listen, they do sell.
They do sell for good. He was making bank off it.
Yeah,
but
this is back in 2000.
Yeah, the thing is though, is Pokemon was a high risk because it was a good that's being watched.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a very, very sought after good.
Yes, it is.
So Tony was actually against it.
Yep. But Salvatore, sleep deprived after trailing Christopher all night, eventually crashes into another car.
So that little egg of a man who sells agent.
Yeah. Tony rebukes Richie for selling cocaine again. Richie proposes to Junior again the idea of taking Tony out, which Junior then goes and tells Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Or he doesn't go until Tony comes over.
Tony comes over and Junior, he doesn't actually straight up tell him, he alludes to it.
He alludes to it, yeah. Tony then tries to plan a hit on Richie, but later on that night, Richie goes back to Livia's house where Janice
Oh, yeah, this scene had me shocked.
Yep. They get into an argument in which Richie straight up just punches Janice in the mouth.
And then he says something like, "Get my dinner ready."
Yeah.
And he goes and sits down. And then she runs off crying.
Yep.
You see Richie at the bottom of the stairs.
Yep.
And he starts to walk up the stairs. You see Janice pop out of the corner with a gun.
Yep.
And shoots him 3 times.
Yep. Shoots him, shoots and kills him. She, distraught, phones Tony, and he comes over, finds the dead body, and then has Christopher and Furio dispose of his body using a meat grinder at the meat shop. Which you can tell they censored this.
It just cuts.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
The episode suddenly cuts.
Yep.
So they had to censor something.
Yeah. It was probably they probably made it grosser than.
Well, I mean, I watched a movie called not Goodfellas. It was a recent one, but it actually showed it, so I'm glad they don't show it in the Sopranos.
The Irishman?
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
They actually show him throwing it in a wood chipper.
Yeah. Janice decides that she's going to go back to Seattle after all that. She tells Livia, but Livia smiles when she hears the news, and essentially says something like, she knew it was never going to
work out.
Yeah.
Demon woman. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and then Tony kind of falls downstairs going outside, and Livia laughs at him when he does that. But yeah, she's a bitter old woman. Carmela meets Victor. I think Victor is Anthony's advisor, by the way. Tony's?
Anthony.
Or AJ?
AJ,
yeah. I was about to say, I forgot what he was, but she kind of gets attracted to him.
Yeah, he's his college advisor.
Yeah. She actually kisses him and then tells him that she might one day be free. Which means that she feels like she's trapped with Tony because Tony's a mobster.
Yeah.
If she leaves, that puts her in danger.
And that's her basically saying one day Tony's either going to be shot or put in jail.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Irina tries to commit suicide using pills and vodka because Tony broke up with her. She gets sent to the hospital, and then Tony sends Silvio with a $75,000 parting gift to her.
Yeah.
Which shows this thing that Tony, because he's rich, he thinks that he can buy affection and apologies.
He wasn't trying to buy affection. He was trying to buy an apology and get her to not kill herself.
Yep.
But that still shows that Tony freaks out when something like that happens.
Yeah.
Because he even saw her as a kid, basically, which is disgusting.
Yeah, it is, yes.
But,
I know, every one of Tony's mistresses are 20 years younger than him.
Yep.
It's kind of creepy.
Except for Irina's sister.
Yeah. How do you say her name? It's Svetlana or something like that?
Svetlana. There's an S.
Yeah.
Svetlana.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
That is, when that gets found out, is probably one of the hardest watched scenes in the show.
Yep.
I sat there going.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We then get to the episode 13 of season 2, the season finale of it, where Tony has a fever-induced dream.
The fish told him.
Yes, where one of the bass things on the wall tells him that he's that Salvatore is working for the government.
Yeah, but before that, there was still a scene that I find funny for some reason.
Yes.
It's when he's laying there, he's like, Carmela, I hate my life. I don't know what to do. And then Carmela's just like, okay. And then Tony goes, wait a second, it's not coming from here. It's coming from here. And he grabs his stomach and runs to the bathroom and throws up.
Yeah, bro, he gets bad food poisoning.
He got bad food poisoning. But then he hallucinates throughout a series of hallucinations that slowly build up to him realizing that Salvatore was the rat all along.
Yes.
And the last one has a bass that is one of the frozen basses that gets sold.
Yes.
Thing just in Salvatore's voice, just saying, I'm the rat, and you know it.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, so the fish told him. So afterwards, he decides to go and visit Salvatore's house, where while Salvatore is, I think, talking to other people, he
tells Sal to go downstairs and talk with Polly.
Yeah.
Because Polly was doing that. To do so, he fakes still being sick, runs to the bathroom. So Sal would go downstairs. He comes out and he finds the wiretap underneath the jewelry box.
Yep. He finds that. He then asks Salvatore if he wants to go boating.
They go on a nice boat ride.
They go on a boat ride where him and Silvio and Polly, they shoot him, and it's kind of like a sad scene because
And you can tell they don't want to. Because, who is it? I think it's Polly who runs back upstairs and throws up.
Yeah.
And Tony walks back upstairs and grabs him and says, "You think I want to do this?"
Yeah. They're all, I mean, like, they're all like all three standing in front of him. And he like grabs drinks and
he starts downing beer.
he starts downing drinks, and then he kind of like tells a joke, and they all kind of laugh at it,
Yeah.
reluctantly. And then if I remember correctly, he asked Tony if he can sit down, and that's when they shoot him.
No, he sits down and they continue to stare at him. But the moment he said, "I'm sorry," they all start shooting.
Yeah. They then take his dead body and they throw it into the ocean.
Yep. Lady does also ask, "Not in the face."
Yeah, not in the face. Yep.
I don't know about that. If I'm gonna be shot, please just end it quick. Shoot me straight in the head.
Yes. Yep. Meadow graduates high school later on in the episode. During the graduation, Tony tells Christopher he's going to make him a made man.
Yep.
Which is kind of like, becoming a capo, I think?
No. A made man becomes basically like an apprentice to an academy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he becomes an apprentice to Polly, which we'll see in a moment does not work out very well.
Yeah.
Because Polly gets a friggin' stick up his butt.
Yep.
And
Polly goes on a power trip.
Yeah, he goes on a major power trip.
Yep. Later on, Tony and Barbara visit Livia, where they try and, which Tony, they like want Livia to leave, but Barbara's husband doesn't want Livia to live with them. So Tony ends up giving her airline tickets to Tuscan, which proved to be stolen tickets that Livia gets detained for. Later on, Tony then gets arrested while Meadow and her friends are having her celebration party.
Yep, he gets arrested right then and there.
Right in front of them. And Meadow gets super embarrassed about it. But Tony then gets bailed out by his lawyer afterwards.
I gotta point out, though, anytime Tony or any of these people get arrested, it is the funniest thing.
Yes.
Because they always just start trash talking.
Well, except for Johnny Sack's arrest. Or, no, he wasn't arrested. He was being taken back to...
That's when he was being taken back. Yeah. That is very sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
But you also can't really feel much sympathy for what the guy did.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yes.
I'm talking about more of like when Silvio gets arrested, he's like, "You like The View?"
Yes. Yep. And anytime Paulie gets arrested. Yep.
No, for the original time when Johnny Sack got arrested is the funniest scene in the show.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that he was going back after his daughter's wedding. Yeah, that was a sad scene.
That was sad.
Yeah.
It's sad because you have to feel for the guy because he's starting to realize he's facing the consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll get to that.
Then that's how the season 2 ends. We then get to season 3, episode 1, which this is a funny episode because the FBI are trying to get incriminating evidence from...
Oh, yeah. Okay, funny and kind of creepy because there's one creepy cop.
Yes. But what's his name? Dwight Harris, the main FBI character. He's like sitting outside of Tony's house.
Tony comes up. He's sitting out there. He's got a baseball cap on. He's trying to hide. Tony just pulls up, flips him off, and drives off. And he just gets out his radio and he just goes, "I've been made."
Tony's not stupid. Like,
no, he's not
doing.
But the guy he is with is a creep.
Yes. Yeah, the first half of this episode is them trying their ever-loving best to find an empty, a time when they can go into the house where it's wiretap it. Yeah, they finally find a lamp in the basement where they decide to replace it with one that's looks just like it. Has a wiretap in it, to where they can listen to his conversations that he has in the basement.
And you gotta give them props for that talent though, because they were painting that new lamp using nothing but a picture.
Yep.
Because they can't take the original lamp or Tony and be like, "Where'd my lamp go?"
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Meadow decides to go to Columbia University in
New York.
Where she moves in, she gets acclimated to it, and this is where it introduces her roommate Caitlin, who is emotionally volatile.
Yeah.
And just she is like one bad experience away from like breaking. Like,
she's emotionally unstable.
Yeah.
She's clearly had something happen.
yeah.
I don't think we ever find out what happened.
No, this is one of those plot points that never gets.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a frayed end of the because like the Sopranos, when it ends, there's a lot of threads that are just kind of open.
Yeah.
And this is one of those. We then have Patsy, who suspects that Tony had a hand, which Patsy is almost, correct me if I'm wrong, he's another capo, isn't he?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. He suspects Tony had a hand in killing his twin, Philly.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, and there's a scene where he like...
No, he doesn't suspect. He just knows.
Yeah, he knows. And there's a scene where he drunkenly...
tells Tony he knows.
Like they're at Tony's house. He's outside. Tony's inside. Patsy like gets drunk, and the FBI are watching him as he's doing this. He pulls out a gun and points it from the window at Tony.
Yeah, this was after he drunkenly tells Tony he knew.
Okay,
when they were at that table together, all eating.
Yes.
All the captains.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the FBI was just like,
Yeah.
What about that guy?
Yeah. But then he eventually he decides not to. He turns around and pisses in his pool.
Yeah.
Then kind of walks off. So, as like a disrespect to him. We then get to episode 2 of season 3 where Meadow brings her boyfriend Noah, her new boyfriend.
No, racism.
Yeah, and we get Tony's racism rearing his ugly head in this.
And the funny thing is, I didn't catch it at first.
Yeah, I didn't.
I thought he was being nice.
Yeah.
Because he is such a manipulator. I thought he was being nice. But I was like, why is he so, like, uncomfortable? So I went back and rewatched it and realized he was racist.
Yeah, I mean, him and Noah, like, they get along at first. They start talking about the gangster movie Public Enemy.
Yeah.
And they start talking about it. And then when Meadow walks away while they're in the foyer of their house, Tony then gets on to him and he's like, all right, me and your kind, we're just not meant to mix. And Noah eventually gets mad at him and tells him F you. And then Tony literally looks at him and is like, yeah, I'm trying to
avoid that.
Prevent that from happening. Yeah. It's like, bruh. So Tony has this racist idea that Italians mix with Italians, black people mix with black people.
Yes, and this is a running theme as well.
Yeah.
You're supposed to stay with your kind.
Yes.
It's something that Tony really believes with.
Yeah, that was something that was passed down to him from his heritage.
Yep.
And all that. Which does not justify it. It's a awful viewpoint. He then, after worrying about it, has another panic attack about it, and he like kind of like tells Dr. Melfi about it. About that, that's when we get the heritage thing that Tony is just kind of reiterating what his family told him.
Yep.
Tony then we then get introduced to a character that I absolutely despise.
Yay, Ralph!
Ralphie.
Ralph.
We get introduced to Ralph.
Ralph.
Yes. Who is a soldier of Richie's crew.
No, Ralph ain't a soldier of Richie's crew. Ralph was Satan incarnate.
Yes. This dude just completely went off of like sinful desires, and that's it.
Have you ever heard of intrusive thoughts? Because they're not intrusive thoughts to Ralph. They're just thoughts.
They're just thoughts. Yes. But yeah, we get introduced to Ralph because Tony confronts him about fires and a sanitation war that he'd been setting off. In this, I think the sanitation was like companies that were sanitation companies that they were in feud with. Ralph says that he's not going to have any more fires, but he instead goes and gets a man beaten up with baseball bats because of it. We then get one of the soldiers from the DeMille family, Ray. He starts cooperating with the FBI, which we'll get to that later. Which that'll get brought up later.
Yeah.
Livia then dies from a stroke later on in this episode. Tony tells Dr. Melfi that he is glad that she is dead. But we'll get later on in the episode that he actually kind of cared.
Yeah.
But he tells Dr. Melfi that she's glad he's dead, that she was that's a burden off his back, basically. I mean, she was a
I would
Bitter old woman.
I would too kind of find it hard to forgive somebody. Forgive my own mother when she put a hit out on me.
Yeah, exactly. But as Christians, we would actually have to.
Yeah.
It did take a while. It'd take a lot of praying, a lot of work from the Holy Spirit, but yeah.
I'd probably be sitting there like, the Holy Spirit, you need to force me because I
Yes.
can't do this myself.
Yep. Barbara tells Tony that Janice will not be going, but Tony angrily calls and insists that she goes. But she then kind of manipulates him into paying for the plane tickets.
Yeah, that's the real reason she wasn't going.
Yep.
She wasn't ever not going to go. She was trying to get somebody to pay for her flight.
Because Janice is a master manipulator.
Yeah. Until Bobby, but we'll get to that.
Yes. And she also manipulates him into giving Livia a, quote, lavish funeral instead of, the funeral that she wanted, which was that nobody cared for her.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's the same one where towards the tail end of the funeral is when Carmela just gets up. Yes. Why are we pretending we like this woman?
At the funeral, Janice tries to get people to remember good things about Livia, but everyone only remembers the bad things, and that's when... Well, Chris is high off his rocker and says a bunch of nonsense about her.
Yeah, doesn't Tony just kind of look at him like... Tony just dead-eyed stares at Chris.
And Chris eventually does the thing where he's like, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, because he finally notices Tony's staring at him like he's stupid.
Yeah. And then Carmela, as you said, Carmela finally gets up and she's like, "What? This is stupid. This woman was dead on the inside. Why are we?"
She called her a black hole.
Yes. Like what are we talking about? And then Carmela's dad said that she ruined, quote, I don't know how many GD Christmases.
Yeah.
So nobody liked her, and
her dad and Mom wouldn't come down anymore until she was dead.
Yes.
Because that's when we got introduced to them.
Yes. But we do have a kind of touching scene where later on that night, the episode ends because Tony turns on the movie Public Enemy that him and Noah was talking about earlier. And there's a scene where a person is talking about their mom and talking about how they love their mom and all that. And Tony starts crying as he's watching it, and the episode ends. So... Tony did care. Like, he did love his mother. You can see that because...
Not every parent deserves kids, but every kid deserves a parent.
Yes. And he was sad that she was gone, but again, he had conflicting feelings from how just bitter she was. Then get to episode 3 of season 3, where Christopher gets made through some weird, borderline satanic ritual where they, cut their hand and... Like it's almost like a blood oath type thing, if I'm not mistaken. Remember?
Oh, gets made? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like how the Yakuza cut their pinkies off.
Yeah.
And they do some weird ritual.
Yeah. And during it, Christopher sees a raven and perceives it as a bad omen. So, which, I mean... I think maybe the writers might have even been doing that as like an artistic thing.
The bad omen is you let Paulie have a sliver of power over
Yes. And yes, Christopher becomes Paulie's
maid
protege.
Yeah.
And Paulie's a power tripping idiot. So that's what we'll see later on. So, we then get introduced to Jackie Jr., Jackie Sr.'s son, who is going to med school, but he is dabbling into the crime life because the cycle, him being influenced by his dad, but his dad does not want him to be a part of it, and his dad has asked...
He doesn't either.
Yeah, well, it's because his dad has asked Tony to look after him and make sure he doesn't become a part of it.
Yeah.
And Tony finds this out, and he tries to talk him out of it due to Jackie Sr. not wanting him involved in the gang life. Jackie Jr. becomes disrespectful to Tony in this scene, in him because Richie went on a disappearance.
Oh no, he straight accuses Tony.
Yeah,
he knows Tony did, or he thinks Tony did something. He doesn't know that Janice was the one who did it.
Yeah. Jackie then wants to rob a charity concert, and Tony tells Christopher to keep Jackie Jr. out of crime. But Christopher kind of needing to pay Polly back for something, decides to help him out.
Yep.
Decides to be a chauffeur, kind of, almost. But Jackie Jr. gets shot at, if I'm not mistaken, and he like pees his pants and pisses himself and runs away. Tony finds out about it, gets mad, tries to call Christopher, but Christopher doesn't pick up the phone.
Oh yeah.
To scold Christopher for it. Later on in the episode, AJ joins a football team, and Tony becomes super proud, like excited for him, and kind of pressures AJ a bit too much. And when AJ gets like a really good tackle, and he gets praised for it, he has a panic attack on the field. We then get introduced to Svetlana, the what's her name? Irina's sister,
Who is
has a prosthetic leg.
she was taking care of Livia before she died.
Yes.
And now she's currently at the house that Livia left
Yes.
possessions to her.
Yes. And Svetlana has a prosthetic leg, and her and Janice get into an argument over Livia's record collection. Yes, Livia gave it to Svetlana.
Yep.
But Janice wants to steal all of it, probably to sell it.
Yep.
And Janice eventually steals Svetlana's prosthetic leg while she's like sitting down or sleeping, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that was a mistake.
Yes, and runs off with it. Svetlana,
She first goes to Tony trying to get it back.
she gets Tony to come over to the house.
But Janice still wouldn't.
Yeah, and but while Tony's over at the house, he goes to the fridge, pulls out a pack of meat, and has a flashback to witnessing his father chopping off a man's finger at the meat shop that he's at.
And he was there because he was picking up the meat guy was giving him meat on the weekly.
Yes.
Which he finds out was the only day that his mother was happy.
Yes, exactly.
Because she loved meat.
And so he talks to Dr. Melfi about this, and Dr. Melfi then makes a connection with meat, his parents' relationships, and his panic attacks.
Yep.
And she ends up telling him, like, we made real progress today.
Yeah, because a lot of the times when he was passing out, it was while he was frying outside.
Yes. And it was meat. It was meat stuff. So a lot of that, it causes him to, like, rethink back to those times. And that's when he has, like, that trauma, and it makes him pass out. We then get to episode 4, which I'm going to give a warning on this episode. We're going to get into some very disturbing content.
Oh, is this Dr. Melfi's?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to get into some disturbing content in this episode, so trigger warning for this. If you don't want to hear SA stuff about SA, then probably skip about 15 minutes on. So this episode starts off with Johnny Sack and his wife move from New York to New Jersey, which Johnny tells Tony that he's not going to get in front of Tony's work doing this. Janice gets attacked by Russian goons that was sent by Svetlana to get the prosthetic leg back. Janice ends up getting sent to the hospital because of it. Tony visits her in the hospital, and Janice pisses me off with this.
Wow, you just straight up say that.
Yes, because she anytime Janice does something stupid, she uses the fact that she is, quote, born again.
Oh yeah,
as a crutch.
Yeah, she stole someone's prosthetic leg.
Yeah, she looks at Tony and she tells him that she has hit rock bottom, and I gave myself utterly and totally to God.
Is this after the Svetlana got fed up and got her absolutely jacked cousin?
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't goons; it was her cousins.
Well, yeah, it was. I would say it's Russian goons, but one of them was huge.
Yeah.
He wasn't taking nothing for her. Like, she was like, "You ain't gonna do anything." He punches her in the face. He pops her right in the face.
We do not condone.
We do not condone. No,
yeah.
But this was like a Russian mafia. She ended up getting in with.
But it makes me mad. But at first, I was like, "Huh, well, maybe she is." But she uses this as a crutch, and throughout the rest.
This is where she claims to become born again.
Yes.
After this, she just kind of crutches on it.
Yeah, because she doesn't change her ways whatsoever. She doesn't repent of anything. She just, anytime she does something stupid and gets scolded for it, and gets, reaps what she sows for it. She then uses it as a crutch.
Yeah.
Which just puts a bad name on Christianity. Ralphie starts dating Rosalie and becomes a bad influence to Jackie Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Because Rosalie is Jackie Jr.'s son or mother. She was the wife of Jackie Sr. And Ralphie is he's basically intrusive thoughts, the person. And he becomes a very bad influence on him. And due to that, Tony ends up making, how do you say this guy's name? Gigi or Gigi?
Gigi. He's Gigi.
Yeah, Gigi captain instead of Ralphie.
Yep.
Of this thing. And Ralphie starts to resent Tony because of it.
Yep.
Dr. Melfi's tries to get Tony to see a behaviorist. But he declines at first.
She tries to push him off.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, I need you, or I think we've made it as far as we can get. Now it's time for you to see a behavior therapist.
Yes.
And then Tony yells, you're just trying to dump me.
Yep. Later on that night, while she was walking to her car after, a day of her doing her regular work, she gets attacked by a man and she gets raped in the...
Raped. Because YouTube.
Okay. She gets raped in the stairwell of the parking garage.
Yep.
It is a really, really rough scene to watch. I skipped through it when I saw it.
Same.
Yeah. And the sad thing, too, is she gets no justice for it.
No, the rest of the episode follows her mostly.
Yeah.
As she's trying to get justice for it. But due to some mishap that happened while picking the guy up,
Yeah.
they were deemed unable to take him to trial because they screwed up, so he got off scot-free.
Yeah, and there's also a scene where she goes to a restaurant,
finds a poster of it that said Employee of the Month, and it was the guy.
It was the guy, and she like drops her like food and leaves. Yeah, it's really sad, and this episode really got me because Dr. Melfi is probably in her early 50s or late 40s, early 50s. I guess it got to me because we have a lot of women in our life, like our mom.
Yeah.
And who are, I don't want to use the word old, but like our older women like that. So when I saw like her beaten up and suffering from that, I guess it made me think of them. And it made me, like, I can't promise that I wouldn't go nuts if anybody touched women in our lives like that. But yeah, it's a very profound thing.
Yeah, I mean, it also just gets to me for a different reason.
Yeah.
She's the only good character.
Yes. Yeah, I would probably be like how her son was. Her son immediately, when he came to the hospital with her, was like, where's he at? I'm going to kill him. Like, yeah. Yeah, because that's like one of the worst things you can do to somebody. She has a dream later on where she gets her hand stuck in a vending machine, and that guy is coming up to her. But then there is a
big old dog comes up and just starts ripping him apart.
Yeah.
She later realizes, while talking to her therapist, that her dream was her wanting to sick Tony on him.
Yeah, because she knew that Tony would probably do something.
No, Tony hates grape.
Yes.
So if she said anything, she knew that guy would turn up dead.
Yes. Yep.
But that's the thing.
Yes.
She doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. The episode ends by there being another therapy session with Tony. Tony actually tells her that he is ready to see a behavior therapist, but she like yells out no and then breaks down crying. And
she wants him around.
Yeah. And he actually is like freaked out about it. He
genuinely asking what happened, that sort of thing, and she won't tell him.
Yeah, he tries to console her. She tells him to go sit back down in his chair. And then the episode ends with him looking at her and he's like, do you have something to tell me? And she looks at him and goes, no. And then the episode ends. It's one of the best episodes, one of the most disturbing episodes of the show, but one of the best too.
Yeah.
Very profound ending because she knows Tony would definitely go and kill the dude.
Yeah.
But she decides to take the hot moral ground and not do that. She decides to take the ground of not stooping to that level and getting revenge on him, which is, I mean, it's a very It's something that we as Christians are called to do as well.
Yep.
And it's not saying that it's easy, because like I just said earlier, we have women in our lives, and if anybody was to touch them like that, I can't promise that I wouldn't want to kill them, want to kill the person who did that. However, I do pray that the Holy Spirit would, do a work in me that I would eventually.
I mean,
Yeah.
it happens with a lot of people. Like, I remember watching a video of a guy who, there was a volleyball coach that touched a ton of young girls inappropriately. Yes. And this guy walks up and asks the judge if he would give him 5 minutes in a room with the guy.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We then get to episode 5, where Tony and Carmela start to have joint sessions with Dr. Melfi. And yeah.
He's going nowhere.
Yep.
What it really boils down to is Carmela and Tony just angrily staring at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're angrily staring at each other. Carmela states that she feels like both of them are joining against her.
Yeah.
And she like, there's like a scene where she's driving home crying because of it. Tony drives recklessly home and gets pulled over for speeding by Officer Leon Wilmore, who is black. He tries to charm his way, He tries to charm his way out of it. It doesn't work. But he then contacts an assemblyman named Ronald Zellman to get the ticket canceled. But then later he sees the officer working at a lawn ornament store. What?
He calls his own lawyer to get the ticket canceled. He asks him what he could do about it.
Yes, yeah.
And the lawyer calls the Ron Perlman, whatever it was. That's an actual person, by the way.
That's an actual actor.
I'm
is it Perlman that plays that person?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
But he calls the assemblyman.
Yeah, he calls the assemblyman.
And the assemblyman, we find out later when Tony finds him working as, like, at a store.
Yes.
That he got fired from it. But here's something that's interesting about that. It bothers Tony.
Yeah.
And he ends up calling his lawyer again, like, did you have to do that to him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And his lawyer basically says, don't start getting a heart now.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, like, even though, like, Tony had, this is the reason why in part 1 I said I don't think he's entirely a sociopath.
Yeah.
Because he does have glimpses of actually caring for people. And we're going to see that actually in the next episode. Because the next episode was another episode that made me go to bed mad.
Chill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meadow ends up, she has a trip to the house from college. She ends up taking the lamp from the basement and neutralizes the FBI's
operation. That's how the episode ends. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because the guy sitting there is like, the leader of the group that's trying to hunt Tony, he's like, so how's it going? And the guy just goes, the tap's been neutralized.
Yes.
And that's how the episode ends.
But earlier in the episode, Junior becomes diagnosed with stomach cancer, and he doesn't know how to take it.
Yeah.
He's like, why is
Well, we find out that he's we find out by it because he was talking about to Tony. He was scared because everyone around him was dropping like flies.
Yes.
And Tony just kept making fun of him until finally Junior yelled, I have cancer.
Yes. Yep.
And then Tony just stops.
Yeah, early in the episode as well, Tony alludes to Artie that he wants to go into business with him, which Artie's wife, Charmaine, absolutely, like, hates Tony and despises him.
Yeah.
And wants nothing to do with him, and her and Artie have a argument, and she tells Artie that their marriage is over. Artie then has an awkward dinner with Adriana and flirts with him. It's a very uncomfortable scene because of that. Oh yeah, earlier in the episode also, Vito's brother, Brian Spatafor, is innocently like in between, a row between a character named Mustang Sally and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And this dude comes up and just...
Is this where crackhead Joe, a.k.a. Mustang Sally, hits him with a freaking golf club?
Yes.
Kills him?
Hits him with a golf club, kills in a brutal scene.
Extremely brutal.
Yes. And it kills him. He goes into hiding.
Okay, so that is this episode. Sorry, I got ahead of myself because Junior was afraid because what's his name? The guy that they end up contracting to kill Mustang Sally is his godfather,
Yes.
who quit like being a gangster for a while because he got cancer and was sick.
Yes.
But he wanted to do this last thing.
Yes.
So he ends up going there,
Yes.
killing him, but he ends up coughing on the way home and hitting something and dying. Junior then asks, did he die from the cancer or did he die from the car crash?
Yes.
And they said, we don't know.
Yes.
And then Junior says some weird thing like, I wanted him to die from the cancer because they always die in threes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Tony's like, what do you mean by that? And he says, I have stomach cancer.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's where Tony finds out he's got stomach cancer. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That I wanted to feel bad for the guy for coughing all over the place the entire time that
But he was there to kill somebody.
But he's not a good person.
No, he was there to kill somebody.
Yeah. But yeah, all that happens. He goes and does the hit on that guy.
Yeah.
But then coughs, basically dies and then crashes. Yeah. We then get to episode 6 of season 3, which we're going to get into some more disturbing content here. Violence against women on this episode. So just trigger warning. So the episode, Meadow and Noah are, their relationship is getting, closer. And while they're in their room, her roommate Caitlin comes back in and she is like distraught over like
something simple. It was like seeing a flower get trampled or
something like that. And then she like goes and she apparently like went to like a play and there was something that happened in the play and it like traumatized her. Like she was emotionally volatile. She was a character I wanted to honestly like go and slap around and be like just like not man I guess adult up or something like that, like because like you're not going to survive this world getting that traumatized by simple things. But then they go out, she sees an old homeless woman, and she tries to help her, but I forgot what was wrong with the old homeless woman when she turns around. And she like freaks out, and that traumatizes her even more. What?
She didn't have any clothes on. She turned around and had newspaper up her butt crack.
True. Yes, that is true. She did have newspapers up her butt crack. Yes. Yeah. True. Well, yeah, that traumatizes her even more. And I think that's like the last you see of that character too. Like
she just disappears.
Yeah, she disappears. Later on in the episode, Tony gets, while he is at the strip club, the Bada Bing, owned by Silvio, he gets approached by one of the strippers named Tracy, who is going out with, not going out with, he's kind of like Ralphie's mistress. She's kind of Ralphie's mistress. She reminds him that he gave her advice about her sick son, and, to thank him, she gives him some date nut bread that she has made, but Tony explains to her, she's like, listen, you're a stripper, you shouldn't be talking to me or doing this.
Thing is, he actually had good intentions there.
Yeah, he did.
His intentions was stay away from me so you can't be an accomplice.
Yeah. Later on, she approaches him again while he's leaving the Bada Bing and telling her that she got pregnant by Ralphie.
Yeah.
And she's asking him for advice, on which Tony tells her to get an abortion, which just made me mad.
Yeah.
Because this is the type of...
Get an abortion so that my captain can keep doing it.
Exactly. It's the type of attitude they have. It's like a child becomes an inconvenience for them, and they instead of taking responsibility for it, they want to get rid of the inconvenience.
Yep.
It's disgusting, in my opinion. Also, Silvio makes me mad in this episode because... Tracy, while she's over at Ralphie's apartment, she's like been missing work because Ralphie has been like making her miss work almost kind of basically. Yeah. And Silvio comes over, grabs her and forces her to go back to work. She tries to explain to him and he like slaps her.
Oh yeah.
And throws her in the car.
No, the only good thing Ralphie was doing was that he was making her miss work because she was pregnant.
Yes, exactly.
And Silvio comes over and smacks her and says, I'm your boss. It basically drags her back to work.
Yeah, this episode's a really good episode that showcases, how these women in this industry get treated.
Now, while Ralphie's being nice here,
Yeah, this episode made me want to go through the. I wasn't. I totally wasn't like low key cheering Tony on at the.
When he's beating the crap out of Ralphie.
Yep. So later on in that episode, we get a very disturbing scene where Tracy kind of like smarts off to Ralphie at the Bada Bing. She walks out the back door. He walks out as well. And they get into an argument, and Ralphie starts punching her in the stomach where she's pregnant. And then punches her in the mouth. She looks up, she falls over, looks up at him, and tells him, like, do you feel like a man? Do it now. And he grabs her head and slams it repeatedly into a guardrail and kills her.
And he kills her.
Yep.
Tony runs out right after that.
Yep.
And goes ballistic and starts beating up Ralph.
Yeah, well,
And
he walks out. Ralph tells him she fell. She slipped and fell. He looks at her dead body. Tony looks at her dead body, walks back over to him and says, she slipped and fell, huh? And he beats the crap out of him.
But then a very disgusting thing happens after that when they finally get him off of Ralph, and all of them literally say she was just a stripper.
Yeah, that's how these women are treated.
Yep.
In this industry. That's why, ladies, I'd recommend please do not get into this industry. That type of industry. It's you're treated as an object, not as a human. Even if I understand sometimes can get rough, but I promise there's better things to do than that. This episode's a really good showcase of how these women get treated in that industry. But there's also like a code system within the mafia that you don't beat up a made man like Ralphie.
Yep.
In front of the other people. So Tony kind of
broke that rule
there. He then tells Dr. Melfi toward the end of the episode that he is sad when they go so young. So Tony did have feelings for Tracy in the sense that he kind of seen her as almost like
a daughter.
Yep. Yeah. And when she got killed like that, it enraged him, which it should have. We then get to episode 7 of season 3, where a rising tension between Christopher and Paulie happened.
Is that when he not breaks in, but he goes into the house and steals the shoes that he bought for Adriana?
Yep. And then later on, Paulie goes to Chris and Adriana's apartment where Paulie starts searching stuff because Chris owes Paulie money.
Yep.
And that's when Chris catches a glimpse that Paulie takes Adriana's panties and sniffs it.
Yeah.
And in that scene, he goes, "Oh, you sick F." And Adriana's like, "What?" And Paulie and Christopher's like, "Nothing."
Yeah. Paulie is on a friggin' trip.
Yep.
Power trip.
Yep. Carmela then runs into Angie Bompensero, Salvatore's wife. Who is now widowed. But she thinks that Salvatore ran off because Tony ain't going to tell her that he killed him. Angie tells Carmela that though Tony is helping her financially, things are hard and she cannot afford an operation for her poodle. Carmela tells Tony, which Tony shows up to her house with a baseball bat, sees that she's got a Cadillac.
Yep. New car.
Yeah, and he smashes its windows and taillights and tells her that she needs to basically use the money for actual things instead of using it to buy this Cadillac.
Yep.
The thing is, Tony does all of this in broad daylight, so that's how much power he has. He does this and doesn't get the cops called on him at all. Yeah, Junior has complete faith in his surgeon, Dr. John Kennedy. But Tony wants I guess the best surgeon.
Yeah.
And kind of coaxes another surgeon to go talk to Junior. Junior then ends up undergoing chemotherapy and suffers distressing side effects. Carmela then attends a session alone with Dr. Melfi. On a day when Tony does not want to go, she stresses that she does not need therapy herself, but she makes an appointment with the therapist Melfi recommends. Dr. Krakauer, who makes judgments, When he has learned about her situation, he speaks the word mafia and tells her that she should take the children and go. Like, basically get away from Tony.
Yeah.
And which she views as the only way for her to find peace, which it is. And that's what we've been talking about on here, that Tony, the only way for Tony to find peace here is to get out of that life.
Yeah.
To live the life that he actually secretly wants to live, as we will see in season 6 when we get to that. Probably in part 3, though. Emotionally overwhelmed, she goes and lies on the sofa at her home wrapped in a blanket. When Tony returns, she tells him that she has been spoken to the dean on the phone. He balks but says that this is something he must do for her. He sees that he must, and they go out for dinner. We then get episode 8 of season 3, where Carmela and Rosalie notice the budding relationship between Meadow and Jackie Jr. So Meadow has broken up with Noah at this point. Well, no. I think it was that same episode that Ralphie and the Tracy woman.
Mm-hmm.
Noah tells Meadow something like, do you remember exactly what he tells her? Like the relationship can't work out or something like that, or he just doesn't want it anymore.
To who?
To Meadow. Noah and Meadow.
No, Noah gets fed up because he's spending more time with Meadow, and he got a B on an exam, and his parents threatened to disown him for it.
True, yeah.
So he said he was spending too much time with her, but to be honest,
yes,
he wanted to break up with her the moment her dad started.
Right, yeah, because I was that should have been a red flag, like 3 red flags in a row right there. Just that, and so yeah, Meadow and Jackie Jr. start getting close. Rosalie is thrilled. At a frat house mixer, he gives her free ecstasy. Later, they are together on her bed, doped and drunk. She falls asleep. He slightly lifts her clothes, but goes no further, which he was about to date rape her there.
Yep.
Yeah. Or date grape her.
Yep.
He was about to date grape her there, which that would have been awful. And Tony would have probably killed him.
Yeah.
He found out about that. On a date, they make out in his car. Meadow warns Jackie that their relationship is unlikely to go anywhere at the moment. On another evening, an overexcited Meadow takes Jackie's car and wrecks it. She is unharmed, but he is deeply concerned, and she asks to spend the night with him instead of being driven home. Yeah, Jackie Jr. ends up being kind of like a bad influence to her.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens later on.
We do also see funny scenes with Jackie, though, where Tony just shows up and finds him at a strip club.
Yeah, well, that's in a later episode here. In Dr. Murphy's waiting room, Tony finds another patient, Gloria Trillo. Yeah.
Hey.
Speaking on the phone, he hears that she works as a saleswoman at a Mercedes-Benz dealership. They have been double booked, and he gives her the appointment. Later, he visits the dealership, and she accompanies him on a test drive. They end up in bed on Tony's boat. So she ends up becoming Tony's new mistress now.
Yep.
And boy, she is emotionally volatile as well. Gloria calls Melfi to cancel a session. Melfi hears a man's voice in the background, which is Tony.
Yep.
Ralphie is intentionally disrespectful to Tony when they meet. Each is thinking of killing the other. Johnny Sack starts passing messages between them and mending the messages to bring about a reconciliation. At Nuovo Vesuvio, Ralphie abjectly apologizes to Tony for all his past behavior, including his killing of Tracy, and blames his actions on his cocaine use. Tony barely acknowledges him. Yes, Tony absolutely despises him, which I do too. I hate this character. Not the actor, but the character. Johnny tells Ralphie that Tony was only posturing. He has suggested to Tony that he could promote Ralphie to Capo in place of Gigi, but Tony is reluctant. Gigi soon dies of a heart attack on the toilet. It's not funny.
He goes to the bathroom, and then they're like wondering where he's at, and they open the door, he's dead.
Yes. We then get to episode 9 of season 3, where AJ and some friends break into their high school one night and go swimming. And they start, like, stupidly throwing their teacher's stuff into the
pool.
I guess when the teachers come back, they end up calling the cops because everything was vandalized. The police trace a custom pizza left at the scene to them because, they left a freaking pizza because they're stupid.
Yeah, they left a pizza.
Yeah.
There's half-eaten pizza.
Yep. There's a conference between the school principal and the football coach, and Tony and Carmela with AJ. The Sopranos are surprised, and Carmela is angry that AJ's punishment is going to be suspended because of his improved academic performance, and because it is in his best interest and the team's for him to continue playing football.
Yeah, he's not being punished because they still want him on the football team.
Yeah, and Carmela does not like that. He wants AJ to be punished for, to see the consequences of his actions, which, that makes sense. The principal says that any punishment should now be decided by the parents, as they ground AJ for a month with extra chores, such as cleaning the gutters. Yeah, Tony and Gloria start getting closer. He takes her to the zoo, and they end up having, doing the deed in the deserted reptile house.
Oh, yeah.
When they go to a hotel room, undressing him, she is thrilled to find his gun. She ironically says Mr. Waste Management to him. he's telling everybody he's a waste management consultant.
Yep.
And she's having sessions with Dr. Melfi, and Melfi is like asking her who the man's voice on the phone was, trying to get her to admit it was Tony.
Yeah, Melfi starts getting annoyed at this.
Yeah. And Tony is like super happy with Gloria, so he starts giving like Melfi bonuses on top of his regular payment, but she tries to refuse it, but he insists, because she knows that she is being lied to.
Yeah.
Carmela has begun to approve of Jackie Jr. as a romantic partner of Meadow, as he is helpful around the house and bonds with AJ, mentoring him in football. In a heart-to-heart with Tony, Jackie promises that he will work harder.
Here we go.
Later, Tony runs into him at an illegal casino and angrily rebukes him, saying emphatically, "If you're spending time with my daughter, I want the best for you."
Angrily refutes him, huh?
Well, no, that was at the strip club. That's later on. This is the first time he sees him out doing something.
He grabs him by the ear and he's like, "Get out."
Yeah. The Soprano family ends up buying a nightclub in which they give it to Adriana, and they tell her to be the owner and manager of it. She names it to Crazy Horse. On the club's opening night, Matouche Guillaume, however you say that name, is caught dealing ecstasy in the bathroom and thrown out.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah.
Because he's a friend of Jackie's.
Yep, he's a friend.
So he gets thrown out, and he tells Jackie if they could let him back in. Jackie talks to him again, talks to, what's his name?
Oh, Furio.
Yeah, he talks to Furio.
Yes.
And Furio tells him no.
Yes, because Tony probably told Furio about Jackie Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he tells the guy, you could do it, but you just have to stay outside. So he's outside. Furio comes out and beats the crap out of him while he's outside and puts him in the hospital.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does so and is badly beaten up by Furio and his men.
Yep.
At home, Jackie asks Ralphie for a piece. And without much questioning, Ralphie gives him a .38 revolver. So Ralphie, again, is a bad influence to Jackie.
Yeah.
Being Rosalie's boyfriend.
But he learns how to cook the gravy, though, in that same scene.
Yes. We then get to episode 10 of season 3, where Tony is on the Asbury Park boardwalk where he is going to meet Polly. While waiting, he remembers another meeting there 5 years ago in 1995 with Salvatore and Jackie Sr. At that time, there was a dispute between Jackie and Jr., and Salvatore had been in Boca Raton. I always...
Yeah, that's it, Boca Raton,
Florida, arranging a sit-down. However, Salvatore did not want to go to the sit-down, and Tony thinks that was when the FBI flipped him. So
isn't that when he just only goes, son of and he's like, he was wearing a wire.
Yep. Oh, yeah, this is the episode where it was Christmas, and he was remembering the time when...
He remembered that he remembered that he wears the Santa outfit, but he was upset about it already in costume, and that's when he realized he was wearing a wire at Christmas.
That entire scene, he's sitting there looking at Bobby, who decides to be the new Santa.
Yeah.
And he does.
He got bullied.
He got bullied into it because he was fat.
No, because they were trying to get Tony to do it.
Yeah.
They kept saying, "You're perfect for it," and Tony's like, "I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
And then Bobby walks in, and they all went,
"Ho, ho, ho." Yeah. Poor Bobby. Poor Bobby.
Yeah, poor Bobby needed to leave.
Yes. But as Tony is sitting there and staring at Bobby in the Santa costume, he literally goes, "Mother effer."
Yep, he's wearing a wire.
He's wearing a wire during it. Yep. Yeah, when Tony visits Janice and she starts complaining about her pain in her wrist due to the Russian that Svetlana sent. Tony attains his name and place of work, and him and Furio go beat him up and throw him out a glass window. Though badly shaken at first when she sees on TV what Tony has done, Janice is also grateful and immediately wants to write a song about brotherhood.
Okay.
Yeah. Tony goes to the restaurant, Artie's restaurant, and Charmaine is there, and she looks really good, and Tony compliments on her, and she basically like,
meh.
Well, she blames him for changes in Artie's character, and he gets up and angrily walks out. They go to the strip club, and Jackie Jr. doing a lap dance.
Jackie Jr.'s there getting a lap dance, and Tony just walks up and puts his hand on his shoulder. Can I talk to you for a moment?
Yep.
And they go to the bathroom, and he just like punches him into a wall.
He punches him, and then slams him into the wall. Then he throws his hands up. He's like, "Come on, put him up."
Put him up.
And Jackie's like, "No, man, no." and he punches him some more, and then like slams him into it. What? No, he like knees him or something, and then he like falls to the ground and he walks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he does yell at him and say, "What did I tell you?
Yeah.
Stay away from this."
He also confiscates the gun Ralphie gave him.
Yeah. He's like, "Why do you have this?"
Yep. Then it's like on Christmas morning, the Sopranos are opening their gifts when Jackie arrives with presents from his mother and his own present for Meadow, an engraved necklace. She embraces and kisses him while glances at Tony, along with
questioning why he's got a black eye.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Along with Tony, Jackie tells him that he has flunked out of Rutgers, but believes he can be a serious student of men's fashion.
Doesn't Tony punch him again when he hears that?
No, he says, "I'm sorry," again and again. Tony says, "I haven't decided what to do with you."
Yeah.
After Jackie leaves, Tony has to fake amusement when Meadow gives him her present, a big mouth Billy Bass.
Oh, yeah, because he's like going to throw up just looking at it.
Yeah, because it reminds him of Salvatore.
Yep.
Because the fish told him.
Yep.
Well, it's episode 11 of season 3. This is the highest rated episode of the show.
Okay. It's called Polly's Stupid Adventures. That's what
It's called The Misadventures of Polly and Christopher.
That could have all been avoided if Polly would have just checked his ego.
Yes. This is the highest rated episode because this is like peak television.
Yeah.
What this episode is. It is both hilarious because it's hilarious and serious. So it goes in between because Polly is a complete idiot on this in this episode. And he makes him and Christopher suffer out in the wilderness during the wintertime. So following a change in Jackie Jr.'s behavior, Meadow begins to suspect he is cheating on her. Her suspicions are confirmed when she catches him with another girl. And she catches him on a date, and she tells him that they're finished, they're done, and she goes away crying. And Jackie Jr. is like, "Oh no, Meadow, no."
Meadow is the only thing keeping Tony from killing Jackie.
Yeah, because now he's afraid Tony's gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Gloria and Tony's relationship is growing increasingly unstable, and the two frequently argue, though they always reconcile. Tony tells Dr. Melfi that he is seeing Gloria. This is where he starts telling her that, "Okay, yeah, I'm seeing Gloria." All that.
Melfi's just like, "I know."
Yeah, and Melfi tells him that Gloria is depressive, unstable, and impossible to please, asking Tony if that reminds him of anyone, implying his mother.
Yeah.
And Tony kind of gets aggravated and just shakes his head at her. Tony instructs Polly to make a collection from Valerie, a Russian, on behalf of Silvio, which Silvio is like, he's got like a flu or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, during this. So he and Christopher go to Valerie's apartment, which Polly makes this stupid decision to try and like get into a fight with him. Polly ends up kind of like choking him out. What was it, like a curtain rod or something like that?
Oh, you're talking about the apartment?
Yeah.
Yeah, he tries to choke him out with a clothes hanger, it looked like.
Yeah.
It looked like, or a rod, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then they get into a big fist fight.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting thrown off, and he shoots the dude.
Yeah. Well, Polly and Christopher managed to subdue Valerie, and they believe they killed him.
Yeah, that's because he shot him.
Yeah. And they decide to go dump him in the Pine Barrens, which is like the woods out in New Jersey, and it's wintertime. However, what they didn't know is that he didn't die, and he was also a trained commando.
Yeah, so they take him out to the woods where they're supposed to dump him.
Yeah.
And they open the thing, and he's awake.
Yes, he's awake.
So they tell him to get out and dig his own hole.
Yes.
So as he's digging,
yes,
he turns around real quick and knocks Christopher upside the head with the shovel and runs.
Yep. And Polly, who can't shoot a lick in this episode, like unloads all his bullets trying to,
He was literally the epitome of that Family Guy skit. Man, these guys are elusive as they're just shooting in the wrong direction.
Yes. And, Polly makes stupid decision after stupid decision. Valerie, the Russian dude, Valerie, just kind of vanishes.
Yeah, and Chris swears he hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah. And they even find blood on the ground. They kind of, like, to make themselves feel better, they try and, like, say that he died somewhere.
Yeah.
But him and Chris get stranded out in this,
Now, yeah, they get stranded out there.
Yeah.
But before this, we forgot to mention that they were they called Tony to explain that he killed the guy.
Yeah.
And Tony literally says, what am I supposed to tell his boss?
Exactly.
He was literally going to a meeting
Yes.
with the dude's boss at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
And the boss literally sits there because Tony tests the waters to see who this guy is.
Yes.
And the boss literally says he will kill anyone who touches this man.
Yes.
This man saved his life.
Yes. Exactly, yes. And Polly and Christopher find like they're
out freezing. They find a car.
Yeah, and they go into it and they find ketchup and mustard packets, and they decide that that's going to be their food for the next day.
Yeah.
And they start eating out of it, which meant
they manage to get a hold of Tony again.
Yeah.
Tony goes to get a crew to go out there.
Yeah, him and Bobby go out.
Let me get to that. He goes to Junior's house because Bobby says he knows their woods and hunted, and he's going to go out there. And poor Bobby.
Yes.
He got all dressed up in his outfit, getting all nice and warm, and then he had a commando shirt on. He walks in, he's ready to go. And Tony just starts laughing at him.
Yes.
And Bobby just goes, forget this.
Yeah.
He just leaves, but he
always got to bust my balls.
Yeah, but he decides to go with him. Tony ends up having like a heart-to-heart with him in the car, though.
Yes.
Where he apologizes.
Yeah.
And then they get out there, they can't find him, so they decide to just chill in the car till morning.
Yes. But they eventually find him, and on the car ride home, Tony scolds Polly basically for being an idiot.
Yeah.
And
on the car ride home, Chris and Polly are eating sandwiches in the back. Tony asks what happened, and Polly says something like, the dude attacked me and all that. And Tony just looks at Chris. Chris doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
And then he just basically looks at Polly like, you lying piece of crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It's a very tense ride home.
Yep. Yeah, and while Polly and Christopher have like a heart-to-heart while they're stranded out in the car.
Heart-to-heart kind? After Polly threatened to beat Chris up, Chris is like, I'm more healthy than you. I will leave you and strand your butt here.
Yep, and then Chris goes to try and leave, and Polly's like, don't leave me.
Yeah.
Don't leave me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a fantastic episode from the show. It's literally the highest rated on the internet. We then get to episode 12 of season 3. Carmela and Meadow are visiting the Brooklyn Museum, where Carmela has to go to the restroom to use a tampon.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, man. What are you on about?
Oh, yeah, that's why I wrote that. I was sitting here thinking, why did I write this down? Like, she has some alarming symptoms and fears she has ovarian cancer or is pregnant.
Yeah.
That's why.
Neither ends up being the case.
Yeah, neither ends up being the case. Tony continues to see Gloria even as her erratic behavior continues.
She threw a brisket at him.
Yeah, she throws a brisket at him when he's leaving. Gloria happens to meet Carmela at the Mercedes dealerships, gives her a drive home, eliciting information from her. And when Tony figures out, he goes to her dealership.
Yeah, and he attacks her in her office.
Yes.
Tells her it's done. He's done.
Yeah, he then goes to her home and gently explains again that he's breaking up with her. She threatens to tell Carmela and Meadow about their affair. And they have like a very violent argument.
Oh, yeah, well, Tony starts chasing her around the house while she's throwing stuff at him.
Well, she grabs her and like throws her to the ground and starts choking her.
Yeah.
And he calls her a quote bottomless black hole because she just takes and takes basically from, well, which Tony does too, but Tony like sees it from her and she just takes and she never really gives. He tries to kill her by strangling her, but she tells him to do it, and because she becomes like suicidal.
Yeah.
And but he decides not to after that. Jackie Jr. and his friends Carlo and Dino decide to rob a poker game.
Yeah, it is.
That was
they didn't know was being run by Christopher.
By Christopher, yep.
So they go in there, they shoot a couple of guys. One of them gets shot back, but Jackie gets away.
Yep. Christopher.
It's kind of a both humorous and dark scene because when they walk in there, Chris just stands up like, "What can I do for y'all?"
Yeah. And then they start doing that, and he's like, y'all don't know who you're robbing.
Yeah, exactly. Chris is like, "You have no idea who you're robbing, do you?"
Yep. Christopher then furiously expresses his desire to kill Jackie Jr., but Tony forbids it.
Yeah. But Jackie disappears.
Yep. The next morning, Ralphie meets Tony to discuss how to deal with Jackie. Tony says Ralphie is responsible, but he gives him like ambiguous advice, like saying like, if you decide to do it, my hands are washed clean.
Basically what he tells Ralphie is, it's up to you. But the way he says it, he implies that he wants him to kill him.
Yep.
Because Ralphie is Jackie's godfather at this point.
Yep. Rosalie kind of like understands the entire thing that's going on, and she like becomes distraught, and Ralphie tries to console her on it. We then get to episode 13, the season finale of season 3. AJ gets expelled from high school for stealing answers to a test.
The episode starts with him and a friend doing work for the janitor in the janitor's closet, and then both of them decide to just pee on the wall. And then that's why he gets called into the office, is because he peed on the wall.
Yeah.
And then they tell him that they have his DNA, and he just like breaks down, he freaks out and just like spills the beans that they did pee on the wall.
Yeah.
And then the guy tells him one more, and then he gets called back in there in the same episode because this test score is the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what happens. Yep.
And then he gets expelled.
Yeah, he gets expelled, and then Tony and Carmela decide to send him to military school.
Yep.
And once we get introduced, in which is a military recruiter, is Jigsaw.
Jigsaw, yep. It is John Kramer.
Yes. Well, yeah. The actor. Yeah. I don't know his name.
I don't know his name. It's kind of weird seeing him do that. He
speaks exactly.
He speaks exactly like him, but
yes.
But he speaks like what is it called? The structure is like God himself.
Yeah.
Like their daily routine is based upon divine
it's
retribution.
It's like very self-righteous.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And then Tony mocks him a little bit because he says every man is a one-man army. And then Tony says, what if, theoretically speaking, what would happen if every one-man army became an army against their general?
Yep, exactly. But yeah, so he gets sent off to military school, but before he gets sent away, as he prepares to leave home, he puts on his dress uniform. Both parents sincerely admire his appearance, but he looks at himself in the mirror and, in tears, asks not to be sent away. He then suffers a panic attack and collapses. in front of them. And that's when Tony realizes that,
Yeah, it immediately cuts to him being at Dr. Melfi's office, and he
Yeah.
says, "My son has panic attacks.
yeah, he's like, he
He has the same garbage, rotten Soprano gene."
yes, that's exactly. He tells him that he has inherited his putrid genes.
Yeah.
Genes, and yeah. So, yeah, like, the cycle has repeated itself with AJ. It's starting to repeat itself with AJ, and Tony cannot Tony absolutely hates it. He can't
Yeah.
cope with it. Oh, yeah. Seeking intelligence about the DeMille crime family, the FBI didn't decide that they're going to send Agent Deborah Cicerone
Yeah, to dress up and become friends and buddy with Adrian.
with Adriana. So she ends up becoming friends with Adriana. She calls herself Danielle.
Yeah.
And she meets Adriana at a dress shop, and that's when Adriana invites her over to her club, and that's when
Yeah.
they start becoming friends.
Just
We then get introduced to Carmine Lupertazzi,
the
Johnny Sack's boss, due to a dispute between Paulie and Ralphie about the division of proceeds from a robbery
oh
that
yeah,
happened.
they called in Carmine Lupertazzi to just be the mediator.
Yeah. And he's got a son named, they call it Little Carmine.
Yeah,
And this dude,
dude's a psychopath. But anyway,
yeah, well, this dude throughout
he's
the
stupid.
entire show, he tries to play the middleman.
Yeah.
But he says stupid stuff. He brings up stupid stuff that pisses everybody off, though.
Yep.
And he can't help himself doing it. Like, Jackie Jr. then goes and hides at a Boomton housing project after the robbery at the poker game.
Yeah.
He calls Tony pleading for help, but Tony rebukes him and just, What?
Does he call him Tony? I thought he called Ralph, and Ralph was like, "Where are you?" But he wouldn't tell him. It may have been Tony. I don't know.
I think it was Tony that he doesn't talk, but Tony rebukes him. But later on, when Jackie is leaving the house, he is shot in the back of the head by Vito, who was sent by Ralph to.
Yep. And they tell everyone he was killed by some black people.
Yep. At Jackie's visitation, Meadow cries uncontrollably when she sees him in the casket. Tony and Carmela are embarrassed when Rosalie notes the low attendance rate. The funeral has coincided with Super Bowl Sunday, a busy betting time. At the funeral, Silvio and Christopher are arrested for illegal gambling. And I think this is where Silvio. Is this where Silvio goes? Do you like the view or?
Yeah, Silvio gets arrested there, but Paulie, not Chris. Paulie gets arrested with Silvio.
So it's Paulie that goes arrested.
Yeah,
Okay, so I wrote that down.
Because this is where Paulie goes to jail and then gets annoyed because Tony never calls him in jail.
True. Yes, that is true. Yes, so it was Paulie. I don't know why I wrote Christopher.
Just typing fast.
Yes. I'm typing as I'm watching.
Yeah.
Watching it. So sometimes whenever the scenes would happen way too fast, I would,
Yeah. Because you could have been talking about that, then the scene cut to Christopher, so your brain said, type Christopher.
That's probably what happens sometimes during that.
But yeah, Paulie and Silvio get arrested, and when they get arrested, basically, they always just try to make fun of the cops.
Yeah. Yes.
Silvio's out immediately, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Because Silvio's got tons of money from his strip club thing. That's why.
Also, Tony bailed Silvio out. Tony was not bailing Paul. This was Paulie's punishment. Tony left Paulie in jail.
Well, when the show introduces Paulie, Tony literally tells Melfi that, well, there's a guy that works for me, and he pisses me off sometimes. And it's Paulie.
Yeah, it's Paulie.
Yeah.
Paulie's dumb.
Yes, he is. During Jackie Jr.'s reception at Rosalie's house, Meadow and Kelly, Rosalie's daughter and Jackie's sister, get into an argument about who actually killed Jackie.
Yeah.
And Kelly gets on this moral high ground where she looks down on the Soprano family for being gangsters, which I mean, I don't entirely disagree with her, because when your brother is killed and you know that it was one of them, you're going to have some bitterness there.
No, I mean, they even tell Meadow
Yeah.
that it was a bunch of black people, and Meadow's like, sure it was.
Ralph then breaks up with Rosalie, and he goes and gets with Janice. Which,
Somehow scenes are,
yeah. The season ends with, they're at Artie's restaurant. The whole family is. And Junior starts like singing an Italian song.
yeah.
And everybody's sitting there watching him. Bobby breaks down, has a meltdown, and is like, it's like crying. He's like, it's so beautiful. Like,
I mean, he was good at singing, though. You gotta give him that.
yeah. But Meadow gets drunk, and she starts making fun of Junior, starts throwing like bread at him. And Tony she realizes that Tony is about to do something, and she gets up. She's like, yeah, gets up, walks out.
Because this is what I meant by she knows that Jackie Jr. was not killed by black people. She literally, as Tony's chasing her down, she turns around and says, this is BS on the line.
Yeah. I had that written down.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is BS. No, yeah. So that's how that ends.
Yeah.
That's how season 3 ends. We then get to season 4 with episode 1 of season 4, where Junior, worried about money, meets with Tony at his doctor's office and asks for more help for his medical and legal expenses. Tony, however, has his own expenses and angrily tells him to manage his own affairs better.
Then we also get to meet the nurse that Junior's got the hots for.
Yes, yeah. There's a nurse that Junior has the hots for.
Which we will later find out is not a nurse.
Yep. Yeah, Carmilla begins to worry about money.
Yeah, Carmilla begins to start to worry about money.
Yeah.
And I think this is the same... Is this the same episode where she steals money from Tony? Steals $40,000 from Tony?
Yeah. Later, though... Yeah, Tony insists that she and the children will be provided for if anything happens to him. He also claims he is no longer hiding money in their house, though he later hides packets of money in a tub of duck feed. Carmilla happens to pass by just after he closes the tub. So, she sees it.
Yeah.
That's when she decides later on to take it. Yeah, Polly is then becomes resentful of Tony's apparent indifference to him while he's in jail.
Yeah.
In prison, he calls Johnny Sack, who cultivates his dissatisfaction. Yeah, Ralphie and Janice, they end up becoming like straight boyfriend and girlfriend. Christopher, believing that Tony is treating him harshly because he questioned his actions against Jackie Jr., begins using heroin again. Because before this, Christopher went... We forgot to bring...
Prior, Christopher went to a rehabilitation with one of the weirdest, like, intervention things ever.
Yeah. I don't know if it was in season 3 or season 4, or if I haven't gotten to it, but yeah, there's an intervention scene where...
He's like, yeah, I ain't got the problem. You got the problem. You all have the problem.
Yeah, well, that too, and you have, like, people like Adriana and them who give, like, a heartfelt speech to him. Then it gets to Silvio. Silvio's intervention thing is literally, I watched you puke after having a near overdose. Disgusting. That's it. That's all he says. And Christopher's like, oh, F you, man.
Silvio is the most gangster of gangsters in the show.
Yes. But yeah, Christopher was went to a rehab and he got sober a bit.
Yeah, and he has a partner that he has to speak to outside.
Yeah, and I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, he does that. And Tony also, like, when he first becomes sober, Tony kind of like makes fun of him for it, and is really bad influence and not really bad. Like, he's not helping Christopher out. Like, he's not. He actually like contributes to Christopher using again. Yeah, he starts complaining about the constant presence of Danielle with Adriana. Adriana takes Danielle to Tony's home and introduces her to him.
Yeah. That was a mistake.
Yep. Speaking to Dr. Melfi about business, Tony discusses his plan to use Christopher as a proxy in order to avoid jail time or death. Although he knows that Christopher is taking heroin again, he now, in an attempt to bond with him, gives him the name and he gives Christopher's the name of Christopher's dad.
Yeah. No. The name of Christopher's dad's killer.
Oh, dad's killer. That's right. And
Yeah.
Christopher, and the episode ends with Christopher going high on heroin.
To kill an ex-cop.
Yeah, to kill him.
The thing is this ex-cop says, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And doesn't seem to know anything about it.
Yep.
So is Tony pulling his chain? Or was he being serious? I don't think that ever gets resolved.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that happens. And I also want to point out that we've also forgot to point out that Russian thug in the Pine Barren episode never gets talked about again after that episode.
Yeah,
I know he ran off.
yeah.
We think it's episode 2 of season 4, where Meadow has got trauma from Jackie Jr.'s death, and she goes and seeks therapy. And
they give her some really stupid advice.
yeah, she has no drive. She's barely even doing her classes and all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, they don't give her stupid advice. They just give her advice that Tony thinks is stupid.
yeah,
Because she was like traumatized, upset, and wanting to go to Europe.
yes, yeah. Once she wants to go to Europe, Tony and her get into an argument in which she calls Tony out for being a hypocrite and for being in the mafia, and he actually gets in her face and is like, "What did you say?" And she like surprised that she's doing that. Her own dad is acting like
Yeah.
he's about to whack her or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she runs off, and she ends up signing up for a morality class, which was kind of interesting. It almost alluded to like she was going to try and like go against her dad, but she ends up not.
Yeah, no, she ends up becoming complacent.
Yeah. Adriana and Danielle are getting closer and closer. There's a scene where her and Danielle and Christopher are at the club. And Christopher actually like high on heroin again. And probably drunk too.
Tries to get a three-way with him.
Yeah, tries to get a three-way with him, and Adriana goes ballistic over it.
Yeah.
And then later on, the episode then ends with Adriana being called into the FBI room, where she finds out that Danielle is an FBI agent.
Yep.
And she becomes absolutely distraught over this. And they start telling her that they give her two things: they can either cooperate with her, or she's going to prison.
Yep.
And due to her conflicting feelings of not wanting to go to prison and also not wanting Tony, I get, in them to kill her.
Yeah, she realizes that she brought an FBI agent to Tony's house.
Yeah. She ends up vomiting all over the table.
Yep.
And on the FBI agents.
And this is one of the reasons why I don't think the FBI agents were good either, because they just don't care.
No, they don't care. And they don't care what happens to her, which we'll get to that in part 3 here. Because that ends part 2 right here, because we have gone over 2 hours now. And, yeah. So, yeah, that is part 2 of our Sopranos deep analysis from a biblical perspective. Stay tuned for part 3, which should be out the week after this part comes out. So, yeah. Where we will go over the rest of the show. So, yeah. If y'all like the video, make sure to hit the like button. Hit that dislike if you disliked it. Follow us on Twitter, because I'm not calling it X. Thank y'all for watching or listening. We love y'all. God bless y'all, and we will see you all next time. Peace.